What if I were to suggest that you play a key role in the awakening world? And that you are watching this because you have heard the call. We can start right now by opening our hearts and minds. Welcome to the awakening world.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Awakening World. It's our Wednesday night edition, and a big hello. Hello to all of our friends, our loyal subscribers in the Zoom room, and hello to all of you watching on Facebook, YouTube. Thank you to John and Summer Raymer, who get us out to hundreds of groups and pages. And hello to those of you watching the replay. I know more and more of our subscribers watch the replay, so welcome. Tonight, we are learning all about health and vitality. And we've got two extraordinary women that are both masterful at what they do. And so we're going to be learning all about it from them. I'm going to do the bigger bios a little bit later, but here's a little sneak preview. We've got Andrea Cox with us, and we've got Rhea Rivers with us, and Rhea's dog. I guess she channels the dog for certain questions that might come in.
That's exactly what I do.
Exactly. Anyway, we're going to meet these amazing women who are, and their dogs, who are going to share all about how we can have greater health, vitality, detoxing, microbes. It's going to be a really fascinating show. But we always like to begin with music, and we are blessed to have the most amazing house musical artist. And of course, I'm referring to our beloved brother, Omashar. So I'm going to turn it over to him. Take it away, brother.
What if we could find a way
Let's love it. I'm going to go to gallery view. Let's all twinkle. We twinkle on this show, our Omashar. And thank you everybody for moving and grooving to the music. And
Mhm.
Omashar's going to bless us with 2 more songs tonight.
Yay.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Omashar. That was a great start. Great start. In fact, I'm going to read a couple comments before I introduce Andrea. Carol writes, "Hello, friends. Let's get healthy together." And that's what tonight's all about. Tonight is all about how we're going to get healthy together. And I'm really pleased with the 2 women that have agreed to be with us tonight. The first one I want to introduce to you, many of you maybe have seen her on Facebook or on YouTube. And this is Andrea Cox. She is an intuitive healer, a detox queen, and a modern day medicine woman. She has had quite a journey of life, a fitness and glamour model turned best-selling author, detox specialist, and is truly all about really helping us understand the power of living raw vegan foods, juicing, elixir tonics, and all sorts of wonderful, wonderful things. She runs a spiritual fasting detox retreats and has her own Andrea Cox TV channel, where she teaches the benefits of juicing, fasting, and medicinal plants, along with cellular detoxification through natural hygiene. So we're going to learn all about this, and welcome for your first time. She's a virgin, at least to the awakening world. Welcome to our show. It's great to have you with us, Andrea.
So
Yay.
here. Thank you so much. This is Maverick. This is one of 2 of my dogs. And as Scott said earlier, before all of you joined us, I also have a 24-year young dog in the other room sleeping. He had his birthday yesterday, Lewis. And it's a pleasure to be here. Just an absolute pleasure to be here.
Well, I guess since it's your first time on the show, tell us a little bit about about your journey, your whole extraordinary life's journey that's brought you to where you are today as an intuitive healer and detox queen.
Well, I'm in my late 40s, and when I was in my 20s, I was a fitness magazine model, a glamour model, and modeled for Saks Fifth Avenue, Nordstrom, Neiman Marcus, all of that. And I developed very distorted eating. And I healed myself on living foods. So not just living foods, using the sauna, fasting, juicing, spending time in nature, yoga, all the things that everybody is into now. 26 years ago is when I made the choice to go not just vegan, but raw vegan. I've written 3 books: Rawlicious Recipes, Juicing for Beauty, my most recent, Eat Right for Your Zodiac, and I've even created a 72-card oracle deck called The Lessons of the Mystical Muse, which is all about health, the Akashic records, and our animal spirit guides, which I feel is very important along our journey. I really do believe our issues live in our tissues, and unless we cleanse the physical body, the emotional body, and our relationships to our finances, to other people, to our childhood, even our past life trauma, cannot be cleared out unless we first work on this meat suit we're all given, right, when we enter into this world. Oh, I've lost the sound.
No, he's going to unmute.
I was muted.
Oh, okay.
You've had a fascinating life. And what, right off the bat, is the most important thing you want for our audience to know?
Well, I think it's more than just the foods we eat. It's the foods we abstain from. And, growing up in Ohio, where I grew up, I don't live there now, but growing up in Ohio, I grew up in farmland. My family owned farms in Kentucky. And so I grew up on meat and potatoes. And, I don't think the world needs to be vegan. I think, I'm very non-judgmental. In fact, the majority of my clients are not vegans. However, I feel that there's a connection between the animal world and us, and there's a need to incorporate more living foods, especially nowadays, because we really don't need all the anxiety and the haste that goes into, unaliving the animals. And so I think, but even prior to that, even prior to eliminating, meat, we need to eliminate the white sugar, the white flour from our diet, the packaged foods that just lower our vibrational frequency and really don't allow us to excel like we would if we ate cleaner. And I do believe that there are certain people that can surpass this without changing their diet at all, that have just very open spirits, and they're open-hearted. But for the majority of people, the chakras are closed, the bodily vessel is clogged. So I think, what I take my clients through before they even get a meal plan or anything like that is a lot of food combining, colon cleansing, juicing. I think it's imperative also that once we go into deep cellular detoxification, that we really hone in on, tapping into our past life pain, our karma from past lives. As a Pisces, I feel like I've had 12 lives here, and clearing that out so we can be on our dharmic path, and also our childhood trauma. As we cleanse the body, everything else seems to fall away. The anger, cleansing the liver releases anger, right? Cleansing the spleen releases trauma. So we want to focus on this specific organ cleansing and raising the vibrational frequency of our diet with natural hygiene modalities, so we can really get to the deep core issues of opening our heart again, right? To before all the pain, before that person that hurt us in 1985, before our father passed, before we lost that animal, before we were stolen from, right? We can get back to that initial space of who we truly are before the pain, because we're clearing and we're cleansing it out.
So what, you said some interesting things just there about detoxing. And I think I heard you say before we start detoxing, tuning into our trauma, our past life. Would that also include epigenetics? Do you believe that our epigenetic ancestral trauma is also part of what needs to be detoxed?
Absolutely. I think, we all carry our, I should say, ancestral lineage karma. I know I carried a lot of codependency karma from one of my parents, and a lot of, living beyond my means and being in my masculine energy of my father, who was a strong entrepreneur. And sadly, he lost his life at 35.
Wow.
And yeah, in an accident. And so I know I carried both of their karmic blueprint for many years, even after I had been cleansing my body on a cellular level for decades and decades, 30-day water fasts at True North Health Center, and spending 3 months at Optimal Health Institute to learn, the modalities there, and getting colonics, even going to colon hydrotherapy school so I could learn more. Juicing every day, moving my body, sweating, red light therapy, all of it. I sleep next to a resonant light Rife machine. However, I still had this pain inside of me and this desire that was not allowing me to step into my feminine energy fully. And I kept checking in, like, what is that, right? And it wasn't until I worked with a client who came to me along her journey. She was I would say about 50 years old, and she was very in her masculine energy. It was almost a challenge for me. And I realized, and this was about 9 years ago, it was because we were mirroring each other so strong, right? So I feel like we carry not only the ancestral wisdom of our ancestors, but also the karmic blueprint that if they didn't heal it while they were here, or if they're still here, we are supposed to close those cycles. And one of the things that I work with a lot with my clients is clearing out karmic cycles. You know, people want to hold on to things and people and places that do not serve them. So what we do is we look at their astrocartography to see if they're living in the right place for them to create abundance in their life, right? We look at, you know, their Saturn placement and who they're with and say, you know, is this really like, is this a karmic relationship? Is this a life partner? Is it a soulmate? I look at astrology along with not just looking at what they're eating or abstaining from, because, you know, I think it was JP Morgan who said, you know, millionaires don't believe in astrology, billionaires do. And even the days of the week are named after planets. So we have to, you know, open up to astrology is a very real thing. It has an impact on our lives as well. So I think we look at all these things together as a whole to really, you know, bring together all the lost soul parts that we're missing, that we lose along our journey when the breakup happens, the one of the parents passes over, you know, we lose a loved one, we lose a dog, we lose a job, we get stolen from, we take on all these things, all these burdens, but then we actually lose those parts of ourselves that are so innocent and so beautiful and so enlightened and so childlike. And so what I do with my clients is it's like a peeling of an onion, right? As we peel back the layers, it's like their true authentic self comes to the surface again. And sometimes that true self has been gone for years. So to answer your question, I feel like our ancestral blueprint plays a vital role in our healing process. And we really have to be honest with ourselves. Are we carrying the same issues that our parents did, right? Are we carrying those same issues? Are we codependent like a parent was? Are we, you know, we really need to digest. Are we overeating like a parent did to cope? Are we drinking like a parent did to cope? And we need to recognize those patterns and end the cycle. And the same with relationships that no longer serve our highest good. We need to learn to let go. As someone with heavy Scorpio placements, moon, rising, north node, I had to learn to not be so attached to, oh, don't leave me. And that was hard. That took years.
Yeah.
But once I did, it was, oh.
Wow. I'm going to read a couple of comments, then I'm going to meet Rhea. Susan writes, she make a strong argument for the health of the body being a part of our journey. And then she asks, do you think certain foods indicate ancestral patterns? And it sounds like you just said that you do.
Yeah, part of ancestral eating actually is really adopting our lineage diet. For me, it's that Celtic Scottish ancestry and eating more foods that you know, herbs and things like that, making my own tinctures and things of that nature. For someone else that may be from Ireland, it may be, you know, I do feel like we should really incorporate those foods, vegan or not, that our great grandparents grew. So I do believe that that we should incorporate foods according to our lineage.
Beautiful. All right, well, we're going to have a lot more time with Andrea as the evening goes on, but I want to meet our other guest. Andrea, thank you so much. We'll be back with you in a little bit. And a couple of other comments that came in, by the way. George talked about the True North Health Center is right there where he lives in Santa Rosa. I've been to True North, and my wife, by the way, Andrea, used to go to OHI in Lemon Grove twice a year. So I know it very, very well. I went a few times. She went twice a year. She was religious about it. Well, our next guest is someone that I just experienced professionally. I've known her personally as a friend, but today she did a reading for me. I sent her a sample of my hair, and she did an extraordinary reading. It was amazing. By the way, Rhea, you're more than welcome to share anything if you want to do examples of your computer screen and helping people to understand how what you do.
Okay.
You're more than welcome. My hair, my life, you're welcome to share with the world. And you don't have to, but if you want to, you may.
Okay.
Anyway, Rhea is
Scott.
brilliant. And she's helping me to understand all about microbes, all about what's living inside of me, what's living inside of us. And that's quite an education. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the wonderful Rhea Rivers.
Why, thank you, Scott. I am very happy to be here. Hello, everyone. I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful evening. I am, Scott and I we were able to do a scan today. If you've never heard of a biofeedback scanner, it's a wonderful tool. So you are able to look more deeply in the body, so to identify the microbes. So microbes such as mold, funguses, candida, parasites, each of these microbes, they own their own personalities, especially viruses. Even though viruses may not have a living force, they do have a frequency. So the biofeedback scan is able to pick up on all of these frequencies. I was able to find this magical tool along my own healing journeys. So I'll tell you a little bit about me and kind of how I've gotten here. What?
I said, oh, please do. Yes.
Okay, great. So in 2015, 2015, I was diagnosed with vaginal cancer and every form of HPV. I was going through, a heavy divorce, a lot of stress. And as we know, the cortisol, the stress is a major component to that. At that time, I was already in a herbalist program, nutritional program, energy healing programs, because my children were ADHD children and I wouldn't medicate them. It wasn't an option for me. And I'm open to anyone, I'm not here to judge anyone, but it just didn't feel right. So I enrolled in all these courses and I remember I was coming to the end of this homeopathic, my herbalist course. And I felt, God, how am I going to, get through to people without a healing story? I actually thought this. And then, the power of thought, lo and behold, here I am now with vaginal cancer. So with that blessing, was able to work very deeply within my own karmic wounds, me and my ex-husband, within my family. And what I felt that it was an initiation to become an herbalist. I put together my own protocol. I went directly into a raw food diet, macrobiotic diet, and I was able to kick this out before I went in for the colposcopy. So I had the pap smear, right? And then you wait about a month, it was about 30 days. And by the time I had gone in, everything was gone. My doctor couldn't believe it. She actually got up off the stool in the middle of the exam and started to shout at me, "What did you do? You had lesions, you had cancer, what happened?" And I felt it. I didn't even want to go to the appointment. I thought, well, I'm great. I don't even need to go in here. But, I started to go down the list. I used poke root, I used golden seal, I used turmeric, I did a raw food diet. And this poor woman, her eyes just glazed over. And, it was so foreign to her. So in that moment, I really knew that my story was very untraditional in traditional medicine circles. Now, mind you, being in the healing arts and already studying the healing arts for about 10 years by then, it was common to have these types of healing scenarios happen. So with that, I blossomed into my first book and I based it on the vibrational frequency of the body, the vibrational frequency of foods. It came out in 2018. So then anyhow, so with that, then by the time 2020, the onset of what was happening in the world, I had to close my business, a lot more cortisol and stress. And I was enrolled in homeopathic school. And then at that time, I was also initiated. Then I had Lyme, and that's how I was blessed to find this beautiful technology, which I was against for a long time. I felt that it was an intrusion. It would keep me from connecting clients and myself to nature and this medicine that is all around us. But what I found is, this technology is really able to dig deeply into people, and it helps me to identify exactly the microbes that I need to target, from Lyme, which is usually the mycoplasmas, the different viruses. And being now a homeopath and stepping into this beautiful, magical world of these frequencies, there's a frequency for every virus, from herpes to AIDS. There's frequencies for cancer, you guys. And in homeopathy, we use the terminology like treats like. Now, Dr. Hahnemann came out with this in the 1700s. So with like treats like, it doesn't matter the toxins that are in the body. Homeopathy can go in to help expel them. And it's quite magical. So that brings me here to this beautiful, technology that I do love to share and look at clients at a level where I'm looking at these microbes, but what that is also telling me is what pathways would be blocked. Will the bile ducts be blocked? Will the bowels be blocked, depending on the microbe? And there's also the pathology that is stereotypical of every one of these microbes, whether it's, edema of the legs, high cholesterol, heart disease. It's really interesting. So that is where I'm at in my journey. And any questions?
Well, yeah, definitely. As you were kind of going through and explaining to me today, I really did learn a lot about microbes. And so maybe if you could, that was an education for me. And I made a note, definitely make sure you ask her about that because it's unique. They don't teach us about microbes in school.
They do not. And I can go back to a little folklore. I hope you guys like folklore.
We love folklore.
Love it.
Okay. So in herb school, we have all of these beautiful stories that are passed from teacher to student. It's old hippie school. It's great. It's my kind of thing. But one of the stories that really has sat with me for so many years is that, the beginning of the 19th century, 1900s, there was at one point there was an herb shops like all over the US, all over. There was one night that every single one of these herb shops burned to the ground. They were gone. And what these herb shops did, so people at that time, before the onset of the cold seasons, the flus, they would go in to see these beautiful herbalists and they would give them herbs for parasites, molds, funguses. They would open up the pathways in the liver. They would cleanse the blood and they'd give them a bag of herbs and people would go home and make a decoction out of it, right? And drink it. So therefore, when flu season came around, we were just not as impacted because the system is running more, it's running cleaner. So it doesn't impact us. It doesn't knock us down as abruptly. So the story goes, one night, every single one of these herb shops burned to the ground. And it was believed it was the KKK. And it was also the onset of Western medicine. It was the onset of taking women out of their power. Most women, we were the herbalist. We were also being, exit off, burned at the stake at that time. It was a major transition. If you decided to side with an herbalist or even continue the study, they would, assign you the letter A, right? You were banished from society. And that is where this medicine has gone deeply into that fear level within DNA. And I can tell simply when I speak to people, about what I do, where they are on that journey, dealing with that ancestral wound of fear, where they would be afraid to pick up this herb, versus, an ibuprofen or, a pain pill or, it's a deep rooted fear, like Andrea was saying, where these wounds of our ancestors, they're encoded in our blood, they're encoded in the DNA. The first way to clear them is to bring them into the consciousness. Just knowing, like, am I being controlled by this? So with the microbes, keeping in mind that early, like 1900s, that was also the onset of like polio, right? So polio is believed to have these microbes that get so under overabundance, right? They filled the body. So then they're able to slip into that central nervous system, right? So there's a lot of, links to that, even the plague, they were also getting rid of our old herbalists, so the microbes were able to get overabundant. They didn't have their tools, although the, the fire cider, that was really, something that came in to help with the plague. Even the doctors, you could see the old duck bills where all that they had in there were herbs and essential oils. So the doctors did not get sick. Right. So I don't know. Any questions?
Well, that's fascinating. That's absolutely fascinating. So what is, like, the same question I asked Andrea, what's the most important thing for us to know? I mean, of course, we're going to talk with you for an hour back and forth, but what's the most important thing for us to know? A unique perspective.
That I believe there is a cure for everything. And to not let fear in any level, if they tell you you have herpes or, these viruses, you don't have to have these things your entire life. I think it's a lot of misinformation that's going around, and bringing in some of the viruses. When I work with people with, a lot of the herpes, people who will come in, it's an interesting virus because the viruses own their own personalities, and herpes is especially for someone who is dealing with love, whether it's their self-love, whether they're needing to feel needed in a community and accepted, whether it's from old family and they're not being loved. And there's also the aspect, when these viruses, which I believe, and in my training, that these viruses are made in a lab, and they're implants. And once they're implanted into us, if we believe that we cannot get rid of them, we're going to deal with this issue for our entire life. Versus saying, oh yeah, well, it's just another level of my wisdom coming in. Let's do this. And these viruses can be cleared. When you bring in herbs, when you bring in homeopathy, and I don't know if it's a good place to add this, but I've also been on an association. It's at a government level where we are fighting for the right to continue to buy our homeopathic medicines. So a government level right now, they are looking to take those away from us. But again, no fear, right? In homeopathy school, there's a part where they teach us to write, say if in England, my school's online. So in England, if the homeopath goes to someone's home and they don't have the remedy, they simply write the remedy on a piece of paper. They put a crystal glass and they fill it with water and they drink it down, and they're coated. The water is coated. Boom, boom, right? So we're stepping back into times where we're connecting not just with the frequencies, but the frequencies are given by spirit, by God. So imagine then if we're able to write them on a piece of paper and work with those codes, right? Which is actually my next book, but we'll talk about that later. Any questions for that?
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. I'm going to read a couple comments from our audience and then bring Andrea back on. Dorina Joy has a question for you, actually. Dorina says, thank you, Rhea. Usually hair samples are used for heavy metals and mineral tests and analyses, while biofeedback machines use rods. Can you share more details about this unique microbe modality that you're using?
I can. The name of the machine is called Vector. It's a biofeedback. It doesn't use the rods. There's a plate there, and it's pretty special. So it's not just hair that would pick up the frequencies of what lives in the body. I can also use the nails. I can use blood. And in the beginning, 3 years ago, when I was first running these scans, there was a time where I was just calling in the spirit of the individual. And it was spot on. It was spot on every time. I figured this out because I had a friend of mine in LA whose father was diagnosed with blood leukemia and kidney cancer. And I was going through training, it was a good 6 months to a year to train on this machine. And then he called me and asked me what I can do for his dad. And his dad was a doctor. And I said, first off, is he going to do herbs and homeopathy? He said, no. And I said, well, okay, we can look at diet. And I said, but this technology is supposed to work distance. Send me his signature. And he sent me his signature. Okay. And I put his signature in my plate. There's a little plate that you would put that on. And I called in spirit, right? Honzaze shonen, I bring in all the bells and whistles and the angels, and I called him in. And it showed, you guys, it showed the cancer in the kidneys, and it showed the blood cancer. So from there, maybe the next few months, I started to I do a lot of distance work. So I was calling people in, and I found it really exhausting. So now I don't work on that level anymore, but this technology is at that level. I bought my machine, let's say 3 years ago. So now they have machines where you can talk into it, and it'll tell you everything from your family trauma as a child and past life, your emotional wounds. It's pretty alarming how much that it picks up. So it's not, I know the machine that you're talking about with the rods, and it's not that one. No, and this one will even show, so back to my Lyme story. So now that so much more information has opened up about what that was about, the poisonings and such, I was able to go back to my old scan 3 years ago and look at my other poisons that were in my body, and this scan actually shows the snake venom. And I don't know if any of you guys are following that, but there's another doctor that's been coming forward with the symptomology of what was going around, because it didn't fit a flu. Like, you don't lose your senses, you're poisoned. You don't, you lose like your taste and your smell and stuff. So that machine, I went back 3 years ago, and I had all this venom in me, right? So the remedy is nicotine, and lachesis. A lot of the remedies in homeopathy that we were using for what was going around was potentized venom and potentized arsenic. So the machine is pretty amazing, but it's already old. It's 3 years old already.
That's the world we're living in, right?
Yeah, there's so much more coming out there.
I'm going to bring Andrea back up. And now we've got the questions beginning to come in, and I'm also checking on Facebook for questions there. First question comes from our mutual friend, Rihanna Skywalker, and she asks, what's interesting is the question about how we pick up these parasites, these viruses, etc. Is it a consciousness frequency? So I think that's a good question for both of you, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thank you for sharing. I especially loved what you said about how you would be burned at the stake if you were into herbalism. And as someone who has a Celtic Scottish background, I can tell you I felt that heaviness. And when I created my Oracle deck, I felt the wrath of my, even my Christian family. And so I really felt that at a core level. As far as parasites, and I've taken people through parasite cleanses several times, and as a herbalist myself, it goes beyond just using wormwood and the typical, you know, cloves and the typical parasite herbs. You really have to look at intimacy. And, you know, parasites, just like entity attachments, can be transmuted through intimacy. And, you know, I'm not saying that celibacy is the only way, but we want to really go back to kind of the golden years where we really got to know people, because one of the ways that you can get parasites in the body is through intimacy. So I like to tell people, you know, you can do a parasite cleanse, and I often recommend that you do them at the change of the seasons is very good. Beginning of summer, beginning of fall, beginning of winter. However, I think that do we call that upon ourselves? I think it's like anything in life, you know, do we call in a karmic relationship? Do we call in disease? You know, the great Louise Hay, she wrote a powerful book, You Can Heal Your Life, where every disease, every ailment in the body was emotional. And I often refer back to that book. I mean, I feel like she was one of the greatest teachers of our time, when one of my clients is dealing with any kind of disease. But as far as parasites go, I sometimes think parasites are a way to, quote, protect ourselves. We sometimes call that in a way of, because the first sign of a parasite infection is bloated, flatulence, you know, your stomach is distended. And I think a lot of times as a protection mechanism, just like overeating and binge eating can be a protective wall so we don't interact with people in a intimate way. So can parasites, a way to, you know, ward off other people. So that's just my opinion. So I do think it is something that we can invite in, unfortunately.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. Beautiful. Rhea, what would you like to add or share?
I can add, let's see, so the question was,
Well, the question was about our kind of, you know, the relationship between viruses and to kind of our consciousness. And then actually Rhiannon add just now, this just came in his comments. So she asks, could it be the ancestral karmic tie to the parasite consciousness? So we have a contract to work with resolving that. So there's an add-on to work with.
That's right. Yeah, I like that question. And I, you know, the way that I see this world of micro beings, we are absolutely affected by ancestors. These things are passed down, not just in the genetic codes and the emotions, but also within the semen and the eggs. This is known within homeopathy, right? Or families that had tuberculosis in their grandfathers and grandfather, you know, way in the back, you know, these people would be more susceptible to mental illness, right? Unless that tuberculosis is pulled from the bones, which you could only do in homeopathy. But the reality is these microorganisms, they're actually a part of our world. You know, a lot of these parasites, molds, funguses, we're not going to get out of here without being exposed to them. It is a sign of a healthy ecosystem. They're here. So are we. If you have animals, I mean, I love animals. I grew up on a farm. I have them all the time. If you're walking barefoot, I love barefoot. If you're kissing people, I love to kiss. I mean, you know, it's a part of us. So the reality is, like Andrea was saying, to do these on a regular basis, right? Which is what our forefathers did. And using, you know, herbs like such as your like mold and fungus, and it's really beautiful to go into Palo d'Arco. Palo d'Arco also is known to stop fault cancer cells, but you're going in and you're clearing out mold and fungus. So the micro beings themselves, let's say you have a parent that has, oh gosh, what are some of the good ones now? Like hepatitis. Hepatitis is especially if someone's been on a lot of medications, but even passing that down because it's such a blood virus, you know, when you when you're dealing with people with hepatitis, there's a personality that's attached again to that order. Like herpes has like this love thing, where there people can't, find that love. But hepatitis is like that feeling that like you have to clean yourselves out, or like people are constantly clean or feeling dirty, or they're sitting in, I see people that have a lot of clutter, they're sitting in shit, so to speak. Epstein-Barr virus, that's kind of a new one. I had it when I was a child, and they started putting it in the live virus in the vax, in the shots. But that virus are people who feel that they need to be free, like they have to go. That's why a lot of us, as we're coming into our adulthood, will come with mono or Epstein-Barr. So they hold their own energies and their own personalities for sure. And generally, when I've seen people that have a lot of parasites, they've gone through a lot of trauma. And it's a cyclical cycle. You have to wonder, well, did they have the parasites first and then the emotions came? Or were they already emotional and they were more susceptible, so then it trapped the parasites? It's a cycle. But either way, there's no reason to fear it, because we have what we need. We have everything that we need. So you would go in, like Andrea said, and just do your clean outs and open your organs and love on yourself. I hope that answered the question. Anything else?
Absolutely. I'm going to bring Andrea back up. We're going to ask one more question to both of you, and then we're going to take a music break and then come back for more Q&A. So there's a question for both of you, really. Do you work via Zoom with clients, or only in person, or both? And that's a question for each of you.
Go ahead, beautiful.
I want to reiterate, it is Andrea Lee is my full name, my full first name. I just wanted to say that just in case anyone wanted to connect on Facebook, Andrea Leigh, and even my family gets it wrong. But I work mostly remotely. I do take clients to do cleanses. I used to run fasting retreats at the #1 health facility in San Diego. And then when COVID hit, it shut down. However, I mostly take clients remotely now, over Zoom, over FaceTime, over the phone. And yeah.
Okay. And how about you, Rhea? What's your status?
Yeah, I work mostly remotely as well. I do that similarly. Again, I prefer to have, the hair sample here, so I'm not so attached to people energetically. And at this moment, I'm working on another book, and I'm not taking a big influx of new clients, but I'm always available for questions. And I'm trying to get going with this whole social media thing. So I have Rhea Rivers on Instagram, and I've hired someone to start doing that for me. Yeah, I have my new book, and I have Oracle deck coming out, and I think we're going to leave a little time for that later, but distance is preferred. I really enjoy it. Yeah.
Okay. Beautiful. So while Omashar is playing a song, I'd like to encourage both of you, Andrea and Rhea, to put into the chat box how you would like people to reach you, how you would most like them to contact you. We will take a look at your websites, of course, and we'll be back with more questions. So please, everybody, also during the song, move and groove and dance, but also maybe put in the chat box your questions. And I will do my best also to check Facebook and see if there's questions coming in there. There's a lot of people watching us on Facebook tonight. So with that, I am so grateful for this amazing man with the big heart, both inside of his shirt and behind him, to play his second song of the night.
I change like a butterfly, something very new.
Omashar, something is wrong.
What's happening?
We're not hearing your keyboards,
Okay.
which is
Thank you for telling me, because that's happening. Scarlet and Take two. I've changed, just like a butterfly. It's something very new. I'm feeling so alive, and yes, it's true. Nothing is the same. I'm bigger than before, and yet I know that I am still a child without a care in this new world, and so connected to you. An innocent new life, a heart so true. A dream that seems so far away is living here in me, freeing all the pain that paved the way. The miracle of love has opened up the door, and now I know that I am still a child without a care in this new world, and so connected to you. An innocent new life, a heart so true. Is beating once again. I'm feeling so secure, and yet I know that there's nothing like before. My mind is now at peace, no need to know the way. And yes, I'm glad that I am still a child without a care in this new world, and so connected to you. An innocent new life, a heart so true. I'm still a child without a care in this new world, and so connected to you. I'm innocent and deep and pure and true.
Thank you, thank you. Let's all give some good twinkles.
Yeah, I'm really appreciating this show tonight because I'm on the third day of a detox diet, and so to actually sing when I'm feeling really spacey, hence why I didn't press my professional music button, is interesting, and just synchronicity always happens. And the next level of a detox diet is a parasitic cleanse. And
Yay.
so, right. And I know I really need that because of what you just were talking about, bloating and the other flatulence and the rest of it that we don't like to talk about. It's like, wow, it's time for me to really do a gnarly one, a gnarly cleanse. And so thank you for being here and blessing me with the your presence, because I feel it and it's just encouraging me on. So thank you.
Mhm.
So while I've got you all on, do you have any questions about your particular cleanse that you're doing, Mama Shar?
Well, at the moment, it's just I used to just jump straight into water cleanses and do like a 8 to 10 day water cleanse. But I have learned that sometimes that can be a real jar to the body. I'm primarily vegetarian. I do a bit of fish, but primarily vegetarian, and but also dairy and bread. I love bread. And I think I just did a quick Google on parasitic cleanse, and it said no bread. And then I'm going, okay. And so I guess just a quick question would be, is bread or grains or any specific lineage of that, particularly adding to my parasitic load, let's say?
Mhm.
I would say if it's properly food combined, I'm a huge proponent in food combining. I would say if it's properly food combining, meaning fruit, eat it alone or leave it alone, not drinking liquids with your meals, keeping starches and proteins at separate meals. They can be with green leafy vegetables, but a lot of times foods, they require different enzymes to digest in a timely fashion and quickly. And so when we combine things like proteins and starches in one meal, they can ferment and cause candida in the gut.
Yeah, I think I'm there because I've been doing just for 3 days just grapes and apples, just a few apples and a couple of grapes a day. But I'm noticing it's not digesting, and it's like, really. So I just need to go deeper in this. I know other people have questions. Thank you for the the feedbacks to date. Yes, because I believe in food combining too, and but I don't do it religiously, especially coming from England. Fish and chips, hey, right there. Starch and protein, right? So yeah. Okay, I'm going to take myself out of the picture, and thank you.
Thank you, Mama Shar. Mama Shar will be back to close out the song. Well, we do have a lot of questions that have come in now. Susan Bloomquist is asking, can someone talk about how to address parasites when you have Lyme disease or anything about Lyme disease?
Yeah. Yes, I can. I'm a Lyme
Okay.
survivor and I'm a Lyme specialist now. So parasites and Lyme. Do you know if you have mycoplasma? I mean, there's a lot of questions here. Generally, when we do have Lyme, I'll just start because I can't really talk to her. So usually
Sure.
when we have Lyme, we have the mycoplasma. So the mycoplasma, again, it's made in a lab. It might be a little too out there for you guys, but mycoplasma does not have a cell wall. It's like the blob. If you guys remember that movie from the 70s, The Blob, that is mycoplasma. So it conjoins with the microbiome of these parasites, and they actually become a very big bully because it does not have a cell wall. Let's say you go to the doctors, they'll give you some antibiotics. The antibiotics will look for microbes that have a cell wall, and it doesn't have a cell wall. So I've taken clients on with Lyme where they've literally been on antibiotics for over a year and they're starting intravenously. So this particular parasite, mycoplasma, you can look at Chinese skull cap. But what I like to use is homeopathics. I go straight to homeopathics and I go to the frequencies of the mycoplasma itself to begin to remove it. And that would be the first step that you need to do. That's the first thing that you need to take out with Lyme, because if that is not removed, let's say you have your flukes, you have your molds, your fungus, your candidas, and also the babesia and the borrelia, which is essential for Lyme. They're corkscrew. They screw themselves into our tissue. If the mycoplasma has not been removed, then these microbes cannot be touched. That's why they're the big bullies. I hope that helps.
You'll appreciate it. I was just letting my dog out.
Oh,
Here's a question. Andrea, is there anything you'd like to add about Lyme disease?
Well, Lyme's can be very debilitating. I had a girlfriend that was bedridden and she was, I think 35 years old and never really she has I believe, babois, I believe, there's a,
Babesia?
yeah, there's a
Babesia.
certain type of strain that's, pretty hefty. And, I really think, again, going back to the diet, going back to what we're putting in our bodies. And then this is going to sound so harsh, but I have to say it. We really do invite these things. And I know that everyone's going to be like, how do you invite Lymes? Well, we do. We invite everything. Everything's pre-written before we before we arrived. So what I like to do is I really like to go way back and really you can rewrite your Akashic record. You can, of course, you have to do the herbals and you have to cleanse your body and you have to get into some biohacking regimes, but really going back and rewriting the Akashic records and writing it out like, okay, this next year, that's the chapter that this Lymes leaves my body is very powerful. And also, a lot of these things can't live if you're not feeding them by miscombining the food and by creating more candida in the body, yeast, mold, fungus in the body. A lot of these things can't. Lymes, unfortunately, Lymes is very powerful. And correct me if I'm wrong, you never really get rid of Lymes, do you?
Oh, you can get rid of Lymes.
Yeah.
Yes, but it's not in Western. You're not going to get rid of it changing your diet. These microbes need to be pulled out of the body, the bone marrow. And the only way to do it is with homeopathy. Well, in my world, of course, but that's what that is.
Having a welcoming environment for them though, right? Where
Well,
we're full of yeast, mold, and fungus also helps the process.
Well, and going into your past life traumas, like I said, mycoplasma, even though it's made in lab, there's a portion of us, I mean, we agreed to be here at this moment in time. Mycoplasma is a bully. It's a bully. So part of us having Lyme is to be able to step into who we are and our mission here. And Lyme helps people to do that. So as we transition and we get rid of these microbes, there is a component of us that becomes more in tune with why we're here. It is something you can go up to the Akashic records and have a journey with that and what that looks like for you, what you're working on.
Really rewriting those, one of the things I want to say, I don't want to talk about myself at all, but when we look at someone's 12 placements in their astrological chart, one of the reasons I got into Akashic record readings and using my intuition is my best tool. My entire chart is water. So my entire chart is made up of Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. There are no other signs in my chart in Western astrology. Yeah. So when you talk about, intuition, Pisces Sun, Scorpio Moon, Scorpio Rising, Pisces Venus, Scorpio North Node, Cancer Saturn, my whole chart is water. So a lot of times I can get on and Zoom with a client and I can just look into their eyes and be like, okay, liver toxicity. Okay, you need to coffee enemas in the morning to stimulate the portal vein, to release old bile from the liver. The gift of intuition is one that I suppressed for years, but I also think, intuitively, we know, no matter what your chart looks like, what is best for our bodies. Intuitively, we know. We know when, like she said, Lymes helps you step into your power because Lymes is a bully. She is on point beyond. So a lot of times we have to look at, okay, where else are we being bullied in our life that we're allowing this and we're inviting this into our lives? Where else are we being bullied in our life? We have to look at all these things, and if my liver is toxic, who am I angry at from my childhood? Because liver stores a lot of childhood anger. If my kidneys aren't working properly, what am I holding on to, or who am I holding on to? All of these things, really make a difference. And I'm sure you probably agree, I treat herbs very medicine woman like, very, if I'm harvesting herbs, I grow 90% of my food here. If I'm harvesting herbs, I'm going to ask a tree before I cut a stem. I'm going to sit the herb on my counter for a week and speak to it, tell it what I need it to do, and say, I need you to heal my skin eruptions. I need you to do this. I need you to open my heart again. Rhodiola, I need you to heal my adrenal glands and give me energy. So really taking, if you are going to a store and you're buying an herbal supplement, really taking into account, like speaking to it like your healer, that herb as it sits on your counter for 3 days prior to you taking it.
Thank you both. Well, I've got the camera on you, and then we'll go to Rhea. But how does one rewrite an Akashic record?
I don't think we have enough time in this segment to go into that. It takes a lot of deep physical healing, in my opinion, first, a lot of clearing out of the body. So you are just not to the degree of like a Herxheimer reaction where you've cleansed everything out of your body and you have no energy, but really clearing out the body so we can really step into ourselves and say, okay, what do I truly want and what is truly holding me back? Why have I been codependent on my partner for 7.5 years and I don't believe in my own gifts, right? And really going in there and I focus on the blue flame a lot, but really going in and asking the archangels to pull the records we want to rewrite, pull the fragment in time we're currently in, and say, you know what, this is okay, but I think I've learned the lessons here and I'm ready for more. I'm ready for more expansion. And I realize this may bring some other trials and tribulations in. I'm willing to accept that if we can end the cycle in this current, I don't want to say the words I was going to say, in this current section of my life, this current cycle of my life that I am in. And I believe in calling in your ancestors and really praying to God, whoever God is to you, and praying to your ancestors and really communicating with them one-on-one and saying, you know what, Grandma, I am done with this cycle. I am ready to close it out. I am ready to step into the new, is vitally important.
Beautiful. Going to add, Rhea, is there anything you'd like to add to that about kind of the overall, how we can clear the bigger picture, the bigger challenges of our life?
Well, I guess I can add to that. When we would like change in our life, there's a lot of holding ourselves accountable for really who we are, our reflection, and doing that mirror work and what it is that you need to let go of. Why are we being held hostage here? And be honest with that. Sometimes it's things you don't want to hear about yourself. Egotistical, maybe you're a little narcissistic. But sometimes when we get to the end of that, we're able to look at ourselves and even look at our triggers. That was a lot of work I did with Scott. It's so empowering to know not just how you can fly, but the things that have held you back. It just makes you more powerful. And to know that you're okay, and it's not anything that you should feel bad about yourself, because we're all here learning, doing the best that we can, and just step into a new frequency. That's it.
Here's another question and I'm going to try and get to everybody's questions. There's a few that came in a while ago. Dorina Joy asks, thank you both, Andrea and Rhea. What in your experience are the hardest things to detox from on physical, emotional, mental, or even energetic levels?
I'm gonna be honest. First of all, I love what she said about seeing yourself. That's so very true. I feel like in the darkest of times, we really transform into who we're meant to be. And I think that the hardest thing to let go of is heartache. I really do. I think the hardest thing, ooh, feeling my Pisces.
Oh, well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's your response?
You know, what I've seen and what I felt, you know, being 45 and having vaginal cancer, it was linked to childhood trauma that I was not bringing up. I was not looking at it. I've seen childhood trauma in people affect them their whole lives, triggering, you know, re-triggering, putting them in that histamine loop. Going back and doing that work, you know, like we're talking about in that Akashic records, and looking at these past lives and why it is so difficult to let go of this life. You know, learning to forgive yourself, really learning and bringing in that Christ light. And it's such a buzzword, but when we look at the things that we need and ask to be forgiven, really look at that and what did I do that I need to be forgiven for, and who do I need to apologize to? That's pretty huge for me. I work a lot on that. The energy level, bringing in apologies, even to past lives, right? And looking at some of the traumas with my ex-husband from past lives. I've had some really great journeys with him, but asking him for forgiveness, even though I may have been wrong, there's a level where he believed that he was wrong. And that can hold you hostage. And I don't want to be held hostage anymore. No, I like to look at all of those ways. So I hope that helps.
I'm really loving what both of you are sharing on, and thank you for the depth, you know, and I appreciate the going deep. Question from Susan Woolridge. Do either of you know anything about nanosoma, PMF devices, or Beamer?
Nanosoma, is that the color therapy or I'm sorry, Nanosoma, I believe it's the crystal color therapy. Can you ask her? We can't talk to.
Sure. So Susan, you can clarify about nanosoma. What about PMF devices or BEMER?
I'm not really on the up and up on that. I, like your other guest here, I have a resonant light Rife machine out of Canada that I use, and that's where you input, it has over 20,000 frequencies. You input whatever the ailment is, whether it's eyesight. I spend a lot of time online, so I sleep with it on eyesight in my bedroom. I have two of them, one in my practice and one in my bedroom. And it has cancer therapies, etc. I'm really more of a frequency and energy person, raising the vibrational frequency through living foods, herbalism, the Akashic records, and biofeedback modalities. I think you probably would be more of an expert on this subject.
I've honestly never heard of them. I don't know.
Okay. There was a question about skin cancer. I mean, obviously being smart about being in the sun, but if someone's dealing with skin cancer, are there particular foods or herbs that you would recommend?
Oh, yeah.
And definitely the modalities that we both are talking about, the resonant light Rife machine has a whole protocol for skin cancer. But also, you know, not wearing sunscreen. There's toxic sunscreen can lead to cancer. You know, a good zinc oxide is one thing, but you know, the first thing they tell you to do is stay out of the sun, which of course you need to be cautious. But we need vitamin D, so a good D3, K2 supplement. Also, any type of cancer, we always want to focus on the liver. Coffee enemas to stimulate the portal vein to release old bile from the liver. I would be doing those 1 to 3 times a day. The Gerson therapy method, where you're juicing copious amounts of carrot juice because of the high vitamin A. And along with the coffee enemas and a raw food diet, Gerson Institute used to be in San Diego. Max and Charlotte Gerson started it. And of course, they moved it to Tijuana because it worked. So their therapies work. So anything that works in the States, we usually have to, boot it out, of course. So I would look into Gerson therapy. If you have skin cancer, there's a book you can order on Amazon that'll tell you the exact protocol. And of course, if it's in your financial means, going to the Gerson clinic. Good. Did you want to add?
Yeah, let's I would do everything that was just said, and I would look at, there's a formula called the ISIAC formula. It's ESSIAC. It was brought here again in the early 1900s. It's a big transition for humanity. But it is claimed to be a detoxifier. But the nurse that brought that to us, she cured so many people of cancers. And she lost her job. They wouldn't allow her to work back in the 1930s. This is an old fight. So ISIAC, I would buy it from Canada. There's a company in Canada. The label on it is green. And I would do it. You can get capsules or you can also get liquid. You're going to need to be on it at least 3 months, dosing 3 times a day. It's always on an empty stomach. Absolutely clean up your diet. 0 sugar. There's also a beautiful supplement. It's called the black salve, and it's from the natives here, and you can put it on topically.
Yes.
I would look at that. And the vitamin D, I would look at mushrooms, a different blend of mushrooms where you're dosing 2 to 3 milligrams of 2 to 3,000 milligrams of mushrooms a day, and also astragalus, right? Astragalus is going to go in and help build the white blood cells. It doesn't really kill the cancer, but what it's used for, like in other countries, is if someone is going through chemo radiation, their white blood cells go down, they put them on intravenous astragalus. It's an absolute beautiful plant. I was on so much of it years ago. It's one of my favorites. So I would do the astragalus, definitely the mushrooms. You got to clean it up, clean up the diet. And I feel the same about sunblock. We need our sun. Sunblock is toxic. I would also take off your sunglasses if you can. Allow those codes to come into the eyes. Allow them to come and seep into you. I would look at your water source. Spring water for me has always been best. It's a macrobiotic thing. But living frequencies within the water, and you can even up the dose and put crystals in the water, pray over it, And
molecular hydrogen water is excellent as well.
Yeah.
I'm so appreciating both of you so much. And now we're getting a lot going on in the chat box. Just a moment about Gerson. Some of our old timers that have been with me for a long time will remember that my good friend Trevor Miller, the doctors, he had 4th stage cancer. The doctors gave him 3 months max. And I did a big fundraising for him. We raised the money. We got him to CHIPSA, which is similar to Gerson. And that was 4 years ago, and Trevor is still with us, going strong.
That's right.
So, those cancer clinics down in Mexico are the real deal. And both CHIPSA and Gerson, God bless them and the work they're doing. We have a question coming in. And by the way, thank you, Dorina. Joy put in a natural suntan lotion, red raspberry seed, wheat germ oil, carrot seed oil. She's got a whole little concoction there. Thank you very much. Susan says, thank you. You were right about the bullying. My kids were bullied extremely, and we're working through that now. Roger is asking, what can you help us to do about heart blockages and circulatory issues? What are some herbs, good foods, suggestions for that?
Well, the first thing I would do is I would put a carnelian bracelet on my left wrist for receiving. Carnelian looks like this. It represents the heart, and it's wonderful for opening the heart chakra. Also frequencies listening to frequencies for the heart, 500 megahertz, I believe, getting a love tuner and wearing it, but, you know, lower the sodium. I think, you know, sodium serves its purpose. It helps us absorb water. However, we are intaking far too much of it. And as someone who has heart disease in my family, and even a family member that had emergency heart surgery, I've had to learn a lot about the heart. But I have to go back to Louise Hay's work of pain in the heart. A closed off heart chakra leads to heart issues, right? We close off our heart, there's a blockage there, and that blockage can manifest. And I know I'm probably getting, what is she talking, you know, but I truly believe that the closed off heart, the pain, the not feeling, we have to feel it to heal it, not feeling our pain when we go through breakups and being cheated on and being hurt and being left and being abandoned. Harboring that can lead to heart issues.
Mhm.
And so I think the first thing to do is feel into who has hurt us and really go back and heal that. And I know with the family member of mine that that has a pacemaker and has heart disease, I know that she went through a lot of pain in her life, a lot of trauma from relationships and abuse. And I don't think she ever had time to slow down and feel what she needed to feel. And I think you start there. Go ahead.
Thank you, Rhea.
I think that's really beautiful. I agree with that. I see a lot of people with heart issues, and there's the forgiveness aspect. This is the Christ consciousness right here. It's the heart. It's your, you know, how we take and how we give. Are you in balance there? Are you giving too much and you're not allowing receiving? Do you feel that you're worthy of receiving? You know, that heart chakra is all in here. Looking at, again, you know, the forgiveness aspect. Do you need to forgive somebody? It's not fun to carry, you know, hatred. Do you need to ask spirit for forgiveness? Right? This is a big chakra for that. In the world of like flower essence, I could give you some remedies. One of my favorites is in homeopathy, because homeopathy already brings in the emotional body. It brings in the spirit body. And in homeopathy, you can do soul retrievals using these supplements. It's just magic. I love it. But so the remedy for the heart is arum, which is gold, right? I would start with a 30C, something a little, you know, a lighter dose. If it's something where you're feeling that maybe you need more emotional relief, you would move up to maybe a 200C. And I wouldn't go any further than that without a proper consultation. But arum, A-U-R-U-M. And in the world of a flower essence, which is all emotional, you just drop those. You can drop those four drops on the tongue. You could go behind the ears. You can do a little on the wrists. Oh man, put a little on your heart. It's holly. And holly is connected to forgiveness or hatred, or, you know, something, there's that energy of the heart. And then the herbs would be the hawthorn and motherwort, you know, really looking at the mother wounds where motherwort comes in, and she's actually, it's not just the physical mother, you know, in our skin suit mommy, it's connecting to the nature. So that's a really beautiful herb to sit and meditate with, like, you know, she's already recommended to do. But so motherwort and hawthorn, and I love butcher's broom, because you could be having some stagnant energy. So even if you have higher levels of microbes, the energy can't spin. There may be some ulterior sclerosis there. So butcher's broom is a beautiful herb for moving energy, right? It goes in, it'll help with anything from, you know, edema, all the way into the brain. But it'll also go in and repair the flaps inside the circulatory system. You know how the heart goes bump, bump, you know, it repairs the flaps in there. It's pretty spectacular. So I would look at, you know, the circulatory system, motherwort and hawthorn. I hope that helps.
tremendously.
Andrea, I'm going to read some comments from the audience, and then we'll got a couple last questions. Andrea, while I'm doing that, would you be willing to put into the chat box the name of the bracelet that you were recommending? If you could write the name of that, that would be wonderful. And there's some wonderful comments coming in, and a lot of recommendations from our audience. So I want to share those right now. Kiki is suggesting a good nook to reference, which I imagine is probably a book. Feelings Buried Alive Never Die. And I've heard about that one before, by Carol Truman. Carol spelled Karol. Our beloved wild monk of the Mystic Monastery, Abbot Jerry, writes that he is very connected to the natural cancer clinic in Mexico called Hope for, that's the number 4, cancer.com, and that they incorporate the emotional history of their patients. Again, that's Hope, the number 4, cancer.com for more information. Again, Aurum, AURUM, is highly recommended, especially for our heart. Ayada writes that Dr. John Christopher is North America's beloved herbalist and naturopath, recommended a very simple remedy for heart and circulation issues, and that's cayenne pepper. And I've also heard that. I've actually taken cayenne capsules at times in my life. Rihanna writes, forgiving ourselves, indeed, and forgiving life itself, which inevitably is what causes the pain in our heart. So thank you for that. Jerry, our wild abbot, writes that skin cancer, people dealing with that should immediately stop eating any seed oils, which is most of the cooking oils, and have a 7-year cycle to rid the body, which is to sweat out of the body, and forms a greenhouse effect on our skin. Switch to butter and coconut or olive oils. So thank you for that recommendation. In a moment, I'm going to ask you both a question about EMFs, how to deal with that, so you can start formulating your questions. And Nalia writes, choline works with similar receptors to nicotine, mentioned by Dr. Artis, worked for her. So thank you for that. And I think I'm going to stop there, but I apologize for those of you who I didn't get to your questions or comments. They're flying in too fast. All right. Yeah, let's go to that question. I'm going to bring you both up again. How do we deal with EMFs?
There's a couple things. I like Jason Stiles, the iTaurus. He's out of Sedona. He creates a device that you can wear, and I'll definitely put that in the chat box, where you can tune into his app, and it actually clears the chakras and reduces IMFs. And years ago, I actually had a shaman put a sticker on the back of one of my phones. It was an Arabic word, and I don't recall what it is, but maybe some of you can look it up while we're on here. But it seemed to really deflect the EMFs. It was an Arabic word, and he used to just put them on everyone's phone that walked in his office. But I think also, turning our devices off, not being attached to our devices at all times, having a social media following in the millions, and especially being trolled online over the past 2 to 4 years, I've had to spend a lot of time troubleshooting, fixing problems, training people, text to fix problems. And I noticed that I started to get a dent in my finger. And what I learned was, if you have a dent in your pointer finger, you are on the phone too much. You're holding your phone, so that's one sign. But also another thing that I like to do, and what I'm going to say is more preventative, because at the end of the day, if you are like this 24/7, and it's so sad, we see so many kids, we see babies at the supermarket that are 1 and they've got a phone in their hand. If you are like that 24/7, you know, studies show that our children are having eyesight problems at 17, 18 years old. So I forget what the app is called, but I have an app on every single social media app that tells me when I've been on an hour. And so I try to limit myself on social media to 1 hour a day. Also, I have my social media set up so I don't see what other people are doing. On Facebook, you can eliminate the scroll feature, so you can only go on to post and only see what, for example, your family's doing or something like that. With 26,000 followers on Facebook, I only see what my sisters, my nephew, and my mom are doing. I don't see, if I want to see Scott's stuff, I have to go and search Scott's name and go to his profile, because the distraction of scrolling, they've done studies on this, will keep you on your device longer. So I would say, instead of, you know, putting the sticker on the back of your phone, or you know, even taking an herb, or stay off your device, limit yourself. There are boxes they sell on Amazon where you can put your computer and your phone in there and keep it locked for 7 hours a day. So you're on your phone for maybe an hour or two in the morning, and that's it. So really putting devices in place. From a former social media holic, I really had to devise these things for myself, and now my clients find so much joy in them. I highly recommend the box if you have a true problem, or you have a teenage child that has a true problem with social media, putting them in the box. But you know, as far as EMFs go, even in like the infrared sauna, which is why I prefer a Swedish style sauna, even the infrared sauna gives tons of EMFs. So it's time to really start looking at things. I sleep on a biomat. It's a amethyst biomat, and my dogs gravitate towards it, and that can really has a small amount of EMF output, but it can really counteract the effects of EMF. Also using frequencies, you know, on the resonant light Rife machine, there's a frequency for EMF radiation, you know, to combat that. So using frequencies are very powerful.
Wow. Thank you so much for all of that. That's beautiful. Rhea, is there anything you want to add on that topic?
Yeah, there was a few things I wanted to add back on the cancer question. I did not mention there's potentized forms of cancer in homeopathy. And again, we're looking at light treats light. That remedy is called carcinosin, CARCINOSEN, I believe. So that's for the cancer. But as far as the EMFs, I would look at the crystals like shungite. You can wear shungite. Yarrow is really good at maintaining the boundaries. It's a blood herb, but it's actually really good on the aura, and it's really good with EMFs. You can get yarrow as a tea, and you can also get it as a flower essence, right? So you drop dosing it. And the other one, oh, the curtains, you know, you can buy those curtains, and I forget what they're made out of, but you put them over your bed at night, right? So you're not as susceptible when you're sleeping. And, you know, there was another man that I've been listening to. His name is Jerry Sargent, and he's with Star Magic Healing. And he just did this protocol for EMFs, and guys, and I can't remember the whole thing, but it was really fascinating how he was really sensitive to EMFs. So he actually went into a past life, you know, journeyed into one of his past lives and upgraded his codes, upgraded his body's ability to handle this. And he has his whole journey on his book, but it's a lot for me to relay. But his name is Jerry Sargent from Star Magic Healing. Jerry Sargent's Star Magic Healing, and it was really fascinating. So he's going back to these past lives and these alternate realms to heal, not just his clients, but himself. So that was one thing that he healed in himself.
Thank you. Rhea, I'm going to go to Andrea and show a little bit about how people can work with her. I still need your website. I still don't have the website you want me to take people to. So if you could put that in the chat box and we'll go there. But I want to share with people all the amazing, there's a lot of ways that Andrea provides wisdom to us. And I'm going to start with Andrea Cox TV, her YouTube channel. And oh my gosh, there is so much wonderful wisdom here. So many beautiful videos. Obviously, it's very easy to find. Just go to YouTube and click Andrea Cox TV, and it'll come right up. And then there is her main website, which is her name, Andrea Cox. And is there anything on your website you want us to especially point out or let our audience know about?
Well, I want to say one, you can X that. You can X that out, that box there. I think it's up in it's a little gray. Oh no, it was on the website. That's my newsletter sign up. I said there's a little gray X there.
Okay. So
that's okay. I want to say one thing. On YouTube, I have two channels. So Andrea Cox TV is all about health and wellness. And then a few years ago, I started an Oracle reading channel called the De-tox Intuitive. It's smaller. There's about 17,000 subscribers there. It's a smaller, more intimate channel, but I think you'll find a lot of good insights on astrology and things there. And yeah, AndreaCox.com is wonderful. I also have an easier to reach Shopify shop that I will share with all of you. Usually the way I like to work with my clients, it depends on, I'm big into holistic wellness, intuitive life coaching, but I also do the Akashic record readings and the astrocartography sessions. I really feel like my gifts are kind of intertwined with intuition and healing and wellness coaching.
Wow. There's so much that you provide. I'm just noticing on your website, you're offering us, when you say kind of goodbye, cilantro kisses. Now, cilantro is like my favorite thing to put on my salad, but why cilantro kisses?
Oh, that's such an old, that was probably from 2009 that I used to sign my newsletters, cilantro kisses. Cilantro is a lung healer. And so I always said cilantro kisses to one of my parents who smoked and no longer smokes. And so I always said cilantro kisses. And ironically, she didn't like cilantro. And now that she doesn't smoke, she loves cilantro. So imagine that, right? But I used to always say that to her, to my mother. I used to say cilantro kisses, so that's for cilantro.
It's very sweet.
Yeah.
Andrea, is there any final thoughts that you'd like to share with our audience? And you've been absolutely wonderful tonight. I'm so grateful for all your generosity of sharing.
Oh, thank you. Well, I think really to get started, I have a line of supplements that's been around for 15 years, Smiling Gut Pre and Probiotic, Sexy and Raw Hair, Skin and Nails, and the Raw Detox Formula. And right now we do have it in a bundle package with my Oracle deck, The Lessons of the Mystical Muse, and my book, Eat Right for Your Zodiac. It's in my Shopify store, and I'll share the link. The supplement line is in a base of humic and fulvic acid, which I believe is really good for cellular detoxification. Also full of minerals if you're having any hair issues or anything like that. But I really just want to say thank you for all of you. And if you ever just have a simple question you want to run across me, really Facebook Messenger is a great way to reach me. It's Andrea Lee, Leigh Cox. And if you scroll on any of my posts on Facebook, you will see in the comments, I share links to Shopify, links to my website, links to my other social media. So it's easy to find anything you need just by those comment sections. And thank you for having me. Oh my gosh, I'm forever grateful. I've been a huge fan of Scott's for years, and I'm so grateful to be up here with this lovely lady and all of you. Thank you. Humbled.
an interesting thing about this lovely lady, both of you, they've never met before. Tonight was the first time. You both live in Arizona, and you both have created Oracle decks.
What? I didn't know you lived in Arizona. Oh my goodness. I will have
Yeah, in Cottonwood, where are you?
I am in the Sonora Desert, right under Mount Lemmon on the outskirts of Tucson. I've lived here about 2 years. What area are you in?
Cottonwood. It's just outside Sedona.
Oh, God,
Yeah.
I haven't been there. I
What?
need to go. I
You
know.
haven't been to Sedona?
I haven't. No. Yeah, I
Interesting.
need to go. I need to go. Yeah.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Well, now you have a friend to meet there. And, honestly, I go to Sedona at least once a year. And there's two things. Everybody knows about the beauty and the magic of Sedona. But also I want to say the community, the Sedona community is one of my favorite communities. Because of the nature of the work that I do and who I am, I know a lot of really cool communities, and there's amazing people in Maui and amazing people in Austin and Asheville and but Sedona community is one of my favorite communities.
I agree.
Amazing people. And then of course the beauty and the magic. And for you, Andrea, you were just going into some of the power spots. It'll be a powerful time for you.
I moved here for my Saturn line. I'm on the worst line you can live on astrologically for me, which is Saturn on the MC. So Saturn on the midhaven, but I wanted the disciplinary, I wanted the burdens for a few years just to kind of really, they say a diamond isn't made unless you go through the hardship. So, and it has been hard. I definitely have become more of a believer in astrocartography since I moved on this rough Saturn line. So I'll definitely have to go visit Sedona.
Andrea, thank you so much. And I hope you'll come back on the show again sometime.
Yeah.
Great. Well, Rhea, I would love to have you share with the audience about your upcoming Oracle deck and also about your book. But before we go there, let's take a quick look. I love the name and the concept of your website.
Yeah.
Forgotten Allies.
Yeah.
What could it be? Who are Forgotten Allies? Well,
Oh my God, I was like 40 years old. Woo!
But this is a beautiful website, and this is where you can learn more about what she's doing. And so I encourage everybody to go there. And there it is. To become your own healer, you only need to follow your own inner guidance. Isn't that beautiful? So you can learn all about her and all about the work that she does. So again, it's ourforgottenallies.com.
Yeah.
Again, remind our audience who are our Forgotten Allies, Rhea?
I will. So this was my inspiration in 2015, where I had vaginal cancer, every form of HPV, and I had this amazing results. That was the book that I wrote, and I was here. This is Our Forgotten Allies. Can you see it?
No, because you've got this there,
Oh,
right
here.
there it is.
So it's called Our Forgotten Allies. As I was channeling this book, it was really about giving notice where notice is due. And I was able to conquer this because of all of these friends that I made in the plant community, whether it was my food I was eating or the herbs I was taking, the mushrooms. Our Forgotten Allies, I touch a lot on flower essences. I touch a lot on the frequencies. This book was the first book that I knew of where I brought in where living food vibrates, like what the megahertz is, where a healthy body vibrates, and where you begin to vibrate when you come down with like cancer and candida, and the difference in the megahertz, right? And I included in there the different frequencies of, flower essences and all of the essential oils. So yeah, so that came through, back, 2018, that was released. And now I've been working on my new project, and I was inspired for this book because what I realized is that I really need to step into my inner child. This is heavy work, you know, and healing stories can be boring. They can be, unless you're going through something, they could be kind of boring. So what came through was to bring these healing stories to our younger generations. Now, also, before I moved to Sedona, I started a nonprofit, and my nonprofit's the intention with it was to bring the healing arts to communities like the foster care system that would never, like, the healing arts has been exited out of our educational system. So with my, you know, I had kids that I was, you know, my kids were younger. So I came up with a nonprofit called Prep For It. Well, then of course, COVID happened, that all stopped, and I am now in Sedona. And I just, I still feel the call to connect to this beautiful young community they have zero idea about the healing arts. And what came to me, instead of opening up another nonprofit, which just really sounded really tiring, is to have a book that's fun and bring these stories. So my target market with this book, can you see this?
No, not quite yet. There we go. Lulu and the Shape-Shifting Healers.
Nice.
Lulu and the yeah, there we go. So Lulu and the Shape-Shifting Healers, and it's the first volume of many, because I have so many healing stories. But what came through was for me to, you know, if you see this little guy right here, this is the character Wendy. So Wendy is the one where Lulu, which is actually my daughter's name. I use my kids' names, but they don't have anything to do with it other than the name. But Lulu and the Shape-Shifting Healers, what I bring in here is how this young woman is going through her coming of age and stepping into her power. So she plays the age of about 17 or 18. And Wendy comes in, and Wendy is this beautiful healer that tells her how special she is and allows her to travel interdimensionally. And I use the roots of the system underneath the soil, like the roots of all the plants, where they're able to travel interdimensionally. But the only way you can travel is to connect to the spirit of unity, to connect to that consciousness of Christ in the heart. So there's a meditation that I do in here where you can connect to that energy that ignites the flight, right? And once you connect, you can never non-feel it. I mean, we know that here. So they're able to journey, and on their journeys, they go and they meet plant spirits, right? And they are working on healing a young man named Dominic, right? So they're working on a formula for him. But in that, I bring in Dr. Hanuman, who is one of my loves. He's a forgotten master. He founded homeopathy in the 1700s. He had the angels come visit him. It's just so beautiful. And I bring his story in here, and he is a shapeshifter. So Dr. Hanuman shapeshifts in, you know, with Wendy and tells his story. So I bring in Hippocrates. I bring in the ancient Hippocratic oath, right? And I also bring in our beautiful Jesus, right? One of the most famous healers. And he goes in to help to open her heart and to really help her journey so she's safe, right? So he's with her through all her journeys. At the end, you know, I bring in the ability to communicate telepathically, and I bring in the realm of the mermaids and past lives. So this book is based on all my past life journeys. And you know, I just wanted to do, you know, a fun way of, you know, maybe that age group, people that loved the Harry Potter series. And that was all over. My kids were in, you know, middle school. So they were reading books like this large, you know, they were really into it. So from Harry Potter all the way into, you know, adulthood, it's a very fun book. I hope you guys love it. And what I'm feeling is like my next volumes that are currently parked in all of my different garages in my head that I want to create. But to bring in these forgotten masters, you know, not just like Hanuman, but bringing in like the nurse that founded the Isiac formula, and she brought it to the white men, you know, bringing her in and giving her notice due and helping her to use all of her magic that she she uses. So with this series, what I'm really wanting to do is just to connect to this community that I, they're not going to get any of this type of healing until they're adults, until they're older. So with that, I have the book, and then I also did a coloring book. So that's kind of fun with Wendy and Lulu. And I hope you guys like it. I don't know, anything else?
It's beautiful. It's really, really beautiful. Thank you so much. I'm going to bring Andrea up one more time. Ladies, I feel like it kind of, it's funny how these shows come together. I think it's you are twin sisters separated at birth who have come back together tonight to share your wisdom so beautifully, the way you've complemented each other. Thank you so very, very much for your presence in our world and your presence in our awakening world. Very much.
Thank you so much, Scott. Thank you for having me on. It was such a pleasure to work with you and hear all of your wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you. Such a pleasure. Thank you.
I have a couple of just closing thoughts, kind of things that I had written down while the evening was going on. We had Deepak Chopra on the show when we were calling it Saturday Night Live for the Global Peace Tribe. And he had a very important quote. He said, people usually do not die from cancer. They die from the diagnosis of cancer. And so just riffing on what we've heard Andrea and Rhea say a few times, it's so important to really look at what are our belief systems and how can we change our beliefs, especially about ourselves, and especially when we're holding on to pain, holding on. I believe that shame is the great human epidemic. And as a coach, so much of my work is helping people clear their shame and see who they truly are, which is a magnificent, incredible being that is part of divinity. And so let's remember that. Look in the mirror and see your divinity. And look out at the world and see divinity. Heaven on earth is when we only see divinity. We don't see that political person that drives us crazy. We don't see someone in our life that we've assigned an enemy image to. We just see divinity. And it might be, wow, there's God fully experiencing itself as Donald Trump or as Joe Biden, or pick whoever your trigger person might be. It's all God experiencing itself. So let's remember that. And that's why, as you all know, I usually close my Saturday night show by reminding us to make Sunday sacred by seeing the divinity in all. And someone who sees the divinity and sings the divinity so beautifully is our beloved Omashar. And he went right into chatting with the girls, the goddesses, the gal, what am I allowed to say these days? These magnificent women, these magnificent beings who happen to be in female bodies at this particular moment. But we didn't get a chance to talk about how to get more Omashar. And that is by going to omashar.com, his website. omashar.com, learn a little bit more about him. And Bandcamp is where his albums live. It's the best place to buy his music, and his music is amazing. Of course, you can hear him every Wednesday and Saturday night on our show, but please buy his albums, support this beautiful man, who is going to close out our show, as he always does, with a closing song. Here he is, Omashar.
Shine a light inside, and I'll show you where your truth resides. And lift your eyes up to the skies, and your hands in mine. As I look at you, your spirit shines. You see, it's true that we are one, and we came out from the central sun. A different view, and you dream awake, breathe out the new. The world will come alive again as we dance and sing and make new friends. I know you hear me, so please do not fear me, 'cause I'm here to lift you, restore you to glory, and love you and hold you, and be your victory. My child, I will welcome you home. Welcome you So let me shine a light inside, and I'll show you where your truth resides, and lift your eyes up to the skies, and I'll prove to you that nothing dies.
What a perfect song to conclude a perfect, beautiful, beautiful evening.
What a phenomenal evening. It encompassed everything. Holy smoke. Thank you, Andrea and Rhea. And Rhea, however you pronounce your name, excuse me, beloved goddess. And yeah, I'm so full from tonight. Thank you. And I've written a list of virtually everything you both said. And I know that I'm going to be a better, healthier body because of it. Thank you.
Mm.
And I put the mushrooms up for Rhea, of course.
Perfect, perfect. And a reminder that the show is recorded. You can find it on our YouTube channel or on my Facebook profile. So that's how you can find it. And a couple of important announcements. Lulu and the Shapeshifters lives at Amazon. You can get it. So let's definitely support this wonderful, wonderful book series, the first one. Just go to Amazon, put in Lulu and the Shape-Shifting Healers. By the time you get to Lulu and the Shape, boom, it pops up, so you'll be able to find it. And I also want to let people know about what we're going to be doing on Saturday night. This is really exciting. As you all know, I'm part of the Evolutionary Leaders Circle, and there are about 260 of us. It was originally formed by Deepak Chopra and Marianne Williamson. But honestly, the majority of the people in the Evolutionary Leaders are 60 plus. They're all wonderful, amazing people, and most of us are still doing amazing things. But I have been saying we need to get younger. And so I am starting a synergy circle within the Evolutionary Leaders Network, if you will. And on Saturday night, you're going to be meeting the core members of that synergy circle. I'm calling it the next generation, or the new generation of Awakening World Leaders. Reverend Deborah Moldow, who's the executive director of the Evolutionary Leaders Network, is my co-host once again. Swami, we all love Steve Bierman, also known as Swami Beyond Ananda. He's also a member of the Evolutionary Leaders Network. So there'll be three of us older folks ushering in the young'uns. Now, some of the young'uns, you know, like Tatiana Speed, will be back playing music, but also speaking. So this is going to be a really powerful Saturday night show, and we will close it with Maggie Rose Lacosta, one of our core young leaders, doing a KES group healing for everybody. So that's going to be this Saturday night. Once last time, thank you so much, Andrea, Rhea, beloved brother Omashar, and our audience. Thank you, everybody, for a powerful, beautiful show. Look forward to seeing you all on Saturday night, and let's all incorporate these wonderful options and alternatives that Rhea and Andrea have blessed us with tonight. Let's all make choices for greater health and vitality and detoxing. Thank you, everybody. Good night.